Everyone, Blade here, and welcome to Justine and Caroline's build guide here, where I'll be going over their dupes, skill priorities, best weapons, gear sets, and team comps to help you guys utilize their abilities if you decide to pull for them as well. So if you guys do enjoy this, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get started. Now, Justine and Caroline have finally made their appearance inside of P5X, and to be honest, they are insanely good, especially on the global side. On the TWKR and CN side, they have a little bit of ups and downs, but the characters themselves are still pretty darn decent. And a bunch of things that I didn't think that was possible that they made possible was, one, making them the first playable Velvet attendants, which now opens the door to a lot of other things, but also two, making a whole new role that acts like other roles themselves, which is the Virtuoso role. And then three, having the most complex sounding kit to date. I won't lie, I think even making this, including a lot of my infographics, I got confused a ton of times. So hopefully this makes it a lot easier for you all. Let's go ahead and get into the kit explanation. Okay, so getting straight into the kit explanation of J and C, they can swap between different roles, but this really isn't exactly where everything does stem from. Sure, based on before you get into a battle, you're able to select these two personas, and that does dedicate your role / your fate, but a lot of this does stem from their first two passives. The passive one, which by starting the battle, you're able to increase your desire level, and it is going to be based on level stats or other specific buffs that you do have to have on your character. For example, by having 100 points of attack, every 100 points, you're getting some desire level. Or even by going ahead and getting every 2% of damage multi, we get desire levels. Or lastly, by going ahead for having every 6% of crit damage that's above 100%, we get even more desire level. All these things are going to revolve around their desire level amount. So I mean, like, if you genuinely are paying attention to this, hitting your stat caps will be pretty darn nice and easy to help you use these guys, though they do require a lot of investment, so keep that in mind. But that's just the first passive, and the second passive is where things get even more complex. Seeing that passive 2 here, depending on your persona combination, it will give you a specific set of buffs in battle. This is very confusing, and it took me some time to kind of wrap my head around it, but I think I got everything understood pretty much to kind of teach it to you guys as well. Now, these buffs do go in a certain order here, in which we're just going to start from the top, being Mischief and Innocence, plus of course Service and Adamation. You are now not only able to heal your entire party by 21%, but you're able to increase your party's damage dealt by 24%. If you have Mischief and Absurdity, this increases your speed by 5 itself and increases your party's attack by 30%. Then for Mischief and Luck Loss, you're able to increase your crit rate by a flat 15%, which is actually pretty decent. So I do see some people maybe using this a little bit. But if you use Service and Absurdity, this increases Justine and Caroline's shield by 21%. Not often where we're going to use that all too much. Then if we go ahead and use Service and Luck Loss, it increases not only just your speed, but it also increases the enemy's damage taken by 24%, which is pretty darn decent. So some people might end up using this one. And then the last buff being Absurdity and Luck Loss, this increases crit damage by 30%. And although it does sound like a lot of gibberish, trust me, it's freaking awesome to know that they do this much stuff. The good thing that a lot of you guys should know is, although it does sound like a lot of gibberish, you just know that they're insanely versatile. So honestly, you can do whatever you want, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to the dupe section. See, I know a lot of you guys have some questions on this. All right, so taking a look at the dupes, you guys know I don't normally recommend dupes at all for any characters, but this character is in an interesting spot where honestly getting them is decent, but I will recommend one dupe this one time. So let's check everything out. Being at A0, after obtaining just Justine and Caroline, during a battle, you're able to increase Wonder's skills and thief tactics level, which you guys always see on their passives that Wonder always has here. But before entering the said battle here, just by owning them, you're able to select 2 of their 4 sets of personas, in which these are now allowing you to change their skill 1 and skill 2 accordingly. While during battle here, you're able to receive a certain role based on the personas you selected, whether this is Mischief and Innocent plus Service and Adamation, being a medic, Mischief and Innocence plus of course Absurdity and Nonsense being strategist, Mischief and Innocence plus Luck and Loss being a sweeper, Service and Admonition and plus Absurdity being guardian, Service and Admonition plus Luck and Loss being saboteur, and then of course we have our last one being Absurdity and Nonsense plus Luck Loss being assassin. So pretty much all this stuff you got to know, based on whatever you pair them with, they will have their specific role that they go into. And then based on your skill effects, they will be affecting your desire level. So this is always going to be something you want to take into account. And by entering battle with owning these guys at A0, you're increasing your desire level by 25, which is always great. If you're a person on TW and KR, obviously the extra breakthroughs are going to make these characters a lot better than this. So you're going to have to look at that as well when you're counting up how these characters do perform. Now at A1, this is where I recommend a lot of people to get this last dupe, seeing that the A1 makes them perform absolutely perfect. Instead of doing a rotation of skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, you're now able to have them automatically proc their skill 3, which is always great to do. But alongside of this here, you can immediately start doing your rotation as more of a 1, 2. They automatically are triggering their third skill, and you just go ahead and continue rotating. Now, what the A1 does do is, depending on the selected personas, we're now able to gain 2 different types of our facades, which is the whole thing inside their kit. At the start or end of the turn for Justine and Caroline, if we do have 2 of these said facades, we're able to then automatically use our skill 3 randomly on a target, which does of course prioritize the target that a previous skill that was an attack skill was used on. So just gotta know, A1 makes it so skill 3 can automatically go burr. Awesome. Then we have the A2, which whenever a facade is gained, we're able to then gain a following buff. Now this is if you're deciding to go a little bit further in, this is very helpful. So for example, the Mischief and Innocence mask or facade here increases our party's attack by 30% for 2 whole turns. By having the Service and Abomination facade, we are able to decrease the party's damage taken by 20% for 2 turns. By having Absurdity and Nonsense facade, you're increasing your crit damage of the Assassin or Sweeper ally with the highest attack by 20% for 2 whole turns. By having the Luck Lost facade as well, you're increasing Justine and Caroline's skill damage by 10% for 2 whole turns. So it's mainly just a huge buff to a couple facades that you guys are really going to use a lot anyway. We have the A4, which whenever Justine and Caroline are activating their highlights, they increase their attack by 40%, damage dealt by 20%, and grant a 50% of these effects to other allies for 2 whole turns. Getting down to the biggest one, which is the A6, which makes them an absolute monster. Whenever their awareness is actually unlocked during battle, they will increase Wonder skill and Thief tactics once again, by the way, which is going to be amazing because they don't have to be in the team for this to actually proc. So that's always great. But this also gives you another desire level increase by 20%. Then at the start of the battle, we gain 1 true desire stack. And after we gain this stack, we're able to have it every 8 turns. Well, this pretty much allows us to immediately use our skill 3 and have it enhanced when it's activated once again. Now the enhanced effect for this is it activates all the facade effects for the skill 3 itself, deals damage bonus or bonus damage itself to the main target by 40% of its attack. It also does 8 different hits. So it increases your skill effect by 1% for every 1 point of desire level. And with these 8 different hits, it's going to do 1 hit of fire, ice, electric, wind, psychonesis, nuclear, bless, as well as curse damage each. So it's a huge mouthful. You just got to know A6 makes them go absolutely insane and turns them into a whole problem. So just keep that in mind. But with that all out of the way here, let's go ahead and focus on to the skill priority list. Checking out skill priority, getting straight here, I gotta say that you want to pay attention to their skill 3 the most, seeing this is their big boy damage as well as some of their effects that they're gonna have off of this. Everything that you're doing does lead up to this skill 3, so it makes the most sense to go ahead and have this one be the first that you max out. Then afterwards, you want to go for the skill 2 leading into the skill 1, lastly leading into the highlight. Well, the only reason that we're doing it this way is because the skill 2 as well as the skill 1 are building the stacks that they do require. Skill 2 in most cases is the most useful one, seeing that you're getting more percentage wise, but honestly it can go either way, up to you guys for the skill 2 or skill 1. It honestly just depends on what let's say personas you have in those slots. So do keep that in mind when you are going ahead and upgrading your skills. But definitely you leave their highlight for last though. In all honesty, I feel like the highlight is the least of your worries. You want to make sure you're getting your skills up first, then going ahead and going for the highlight for that last hit. But now we went over this, let's go ahead and move on to our weapon options. Weapon wise, honestly, this unit doesn't need their 5-star weapon, at least not first. If anything, if you wanted to go ahead and invest in anything for these characters, go for the A1 first, seeing that the A1 does help you do your rotations even better, and it at least allows you to use them optimally to an extent that you want them to. But on the off chance that you are going for the weapon, the 5-star weapon honestly isn't all too bad. The 5-star weapon itself, it boosts their desired level, but this is only whenever you use their skill 3, which isn't always quickly available, especially if you're not going for the A1. Now, on the off chance that you did go for it, this is going to be fairly helpful, and it does increase your crit damage and damage dealt when you do have a facade, which is always a big plus. Though I will say, if you aren't getting that A1, it's going to come a little bit less as fast. You still will get the buffs, but it's not always going to be on time that you want it to, which is why we recommend the A1 first before you get the 5-star weapon. It doesn't make the 5-star weapon bad or anything. It's just like, if you're not planning on using them to their full potential, then you kind of can just go ahead and just stick with the 4-star weapon. Now for the 4-star weapon, it isn't the best weapons, but it gives you exactly what you really want to have, being that you're able to save some gems. And if you're only going for the A1, the 5-star weapon, although it's good, the 4-star weapon is still helping you out. Seeing that you're getting some raw attack power, which is always going to be helpful for hitting their attack amount, though some of it is still locked behind the skill 3. So if you're using this 4-star weapon, you are going to get kind of attack cap if you're trying to overcompensate for that attack power, but you're going to be missing out on the critical damage and damage dealt, meaning you then have to replace a lot of that crit damage and damage dealt that you got from the 5-star weapon into your cards, meaning a lot of those substats are going to be really crazy upped if you really want to make them as good without the 5-star weapon. But still pretty darn decent. You can honestly use the 4-star weapon. If you want to get the 5-star, that's honestly up to you, but I do recommend a lot of you guys to get the A1 first. But weapon options aren't too bad, so let's go ahead and go for the gear sets. So the big boy part here, and probably the most aggravating part that I had to go through on this entire video, was Justine and Caroline's gear sets. This is where things got a little highly complicated for myself, seeing that really they have about like 5 different sets that you can use. But for generic sake, you'd want them on the new set being the Emergence and Power set. Now granted, the Emergence card is kind of hard for global players to get, seeing that honestly you can't craft it just yet, so you have to rely on getting them out of the actual little card packs that we get from Guild Boss. But still, this is going to be the best generic set that you can use on them. This not only boosts their desired level just by overall helping their entire kit, but it increases their own stats as well, which is pretty darn basic, but honestly it makes them usable in general for everything. Though if you wanted to get into specifics, this is where we start to dive into more of the crazy gear sets. Now these are a few global card sets that the global player base can use here. So if you want like a buffer, for example, or a buffer set, one of them is going to be the Prosperity and Departure set. Not only does this card set reduce incoming damage, but it also allows you to recover your highlight charge by 25%, which is fairly helpful. While if you do have, of course, the next set that we're going to be talking about, or at least one of the pairs that we have with the Prosperity set being Departure, this increases your allies' damage dealt by 8% for 1 whole turn when attacking enemies. This is pretty darn helpful as a buffer set, especially since it's the only buffer set that you can really place on them in the global version. So I mean, it's honestly not too bad. Now the other set that you could use is more meant for debuffing. This is going to be the Control and Departure set, which honestly it helps with survivability while also dealing some extra damage based on your main target's health. But alongside of this here, it decreases the main target's defense by 23% for 2 whole turns. This is honestly a decent set, but based on the new buffers or debuffers that we're going to get, like Howler, Matoi, Tateyama in the future, this debuffer set isn't going to be the best. But if you wanted to use it for now, this would be your next best thing, honestly, for debuffers to go ahead and utilize. Granted, if you don't want to do any of these two, I would still suggest you guys to stick with the Emergence and Power set, seeing overall this goes for anything that you want those twins to use. Now, if you're a person who are on the future card sets or the future servers such as CN, TW, and KR, there are a couple future card sets that you can use that are pretty darn decent. We have another buffing set, which is a Reconciliation and Creation, which is technically the better buffer set in the long run. As long as no one on your team is currently using it, this one would be the one that you want to go ahead and use. This helps out with your basic stat increases as well as your increased damage dealt whenever you are utilizing it, and it also helps out your damage dealt for the slowest person in your party, meaning this increased damage dealt as well as the basic stat is going to be by 12% for pretty much your DPS character or whoever is that slowest unit, which is always a great thing to see. Now, of course, if you want to do some truly dumb stuff and want to have some fun and you want to make these guys a little bit more of a DPS, you very well can do so on the TWKR and CN versions, because they have a set that we call the Potential Man set, and this is going to be Despair Freedom. Now, pretty much all you got to know with this one is it helps increase your persona skill damage and attack damage. And then once you have it paired with Freedom, you're actually able to deal almighty damage, which increases your attack percentage by 35% and your crit rate by 12%. This pretty much came out when I think Akechi came out, or was a pair when Akechi officially dropped there. And although it is decent on paper, it doesn't always have the best of performances in the past that we've seen with Potential Man himself. But for the twins, it's pretty darn decent if you're trying to be more of an AoE killer or a ST damager in general. This is obviously going to be your next best choice. So as you guys can see, there is a bunch of options for these twins, but it's honestly up to you to depend on what gear set you like best. So try out what you want to try out. Now, going over the main stats, this is simple for all versions. You want to go ahead and focus on a damage bonus moon, crit rate or crit damage star, depending on what your substats are looking like or what you're lacking. And then lastly, an attack percent planet. As for substat wise, you want to focus on crit rate, crit damage, pin, and damage bonus. Obviously fit in some attack in between there to try and hit your attack minimum amount that you do need, which I think the max that you are looking for your cap is in battle. You want to have at least 4,500 attack. If you're obviously going over that, then you're over capped. So try your hardest to at least get those substats looking good for crit rate, crit damage, pin, and damage bonus, and you should be in the right line of sight. Going on to our last section, which is going to be the team comps, we're going to swap on over there. So for best team comps for the twins here, and getting to the end of this video, I already gotta say it, the best thing for them is just being with Wonder. Any team they can pretty much just sub themselves into. It honestly just depends on what you're missing here, and as long as they're with Wonder, they're gonna be good for themselves. See, not only do they help out themselves based on the passes that they do have, but they do directly affect Wonder and what he's able to do as well. The character is absolutely and pretty much the very or most flexible character in the game here. So honestly, it's just cool to see them in action. So being able to use them on any team is very much so possible. Just depends on what you want to do. But overall, that's everything I wanted to go over in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this build guide. It's been some time since I've gone ahead and done these. So we are going to be making a huge trip back to some characters we've missed, whether it's on global or TWKR and CN. But look forward to see it all. I spent all morning making all these infographics and recording. So please let me know if you guys enjoyed this. If there was anything I missed, which I don't think I did, but if I did miss something, let me know. And if there are any other videos you guys want to see, let me know as well. Shout out to my editor, Chills, as well, for editing this. As always, you guys give him a big shout out as well. He took a lot of time with doing this. And I hope you guys enjoy using these characters and try to take care. Happy holidays to everybody, and peace out.